Hey guys, it's Trenchy back in bringing you another video. This time we are doing the quarantine tag created by the Horror to Horror. I was tagged by Jennifer V's from the Grave, plus the tag was left open anyways. So yeah, I know I'm outside doing this, but I'm in my backyard, so I'm still quarantined. Um, but yeah, this is has a lot of questions, so we're gonna get into this. One, favorite movie of all time. What's your favorite movie of all time? Um, and why? Okay, if you know this channel, you probably aren't surprised. I've said this before. It's Goonies. I love fucking Goonies, man. Um, I watched this as a kid, and I really connected with this movie. It's a fun adventure movie. I've always been attracted to like group of kids movies, like movies involving groups of kids, no matter what they are. It, Stand By Me, Little Rascals, just anything with a group of kids. Anything with a group of kids. Summer of '84. Anything with a group of kids. I just like that portrayal of childhood innocence, even though I like how Goonies kind of show children the way they are. They curse, they do stupid shit. Um, and I also love that Goonies, they're stereotypes, but there's enough to them to make them actual characters, but they're still stereotypes. But the thing is, you know these stereotypes in real life. You've met kids like this. We've all met a mouth. We've all met a data. We've all met a chunk. We probably were a chunk or a data or a mouth, or at least one of those, at least maybe a mixture of a characters. You might have been a chunk and a Mikey, or a fucking data and a brand. You know, a mix of them. We've all met a mix of, or at least someone that has held those traits from those characters. And I do admit childhood nostalgia kind of holds this up as well, but I still love this movie, Goonies. It's my favorite movie of all time. Number two, favorite horror movie of all time, and why? I went with Pet Sematary. Lost Boys is my second favorite movie of all time, but when it comes to horror movies, I think Pet Sematary is the best horror movie ever made. And it's my third favorite movie of all time. I love Pet Sematary. It's just, it brings in so many elements. You have the demon baby Gage. You have Zelda, who is a hallucination, but she is just so creepy with her what's it called, contorted, or she's like all twisted and stuff. She's all messed up. She don't really have no bone structure. You got creepy ass church. You have the setting, the graveyard. You have Judd Crandall, who is very likable, but also kind of creepy in his own way. You got Pascal, who's the good guy, but his brains are sticking out of his head. There's just so much elements that go into Pet Sematary that I think make it the best horror movie of all time. Plus, you have the macabreness and just this melancholic vibe going through the whole movie of just the sadness and death. You got the death of Missy. You got the death of Pascal in the beginning. It just, the whole movie is surrounded by death, and it makes sure that you don't forget what kind of movie you're watching. And it's just amazing. So yeah, Pet Sematary, the original, the '80s Pet Sematary, not to be confused with the new one. Number three, should horror movies rely on jump scares alone really be considered horror? What about a movie that has no jump scares but still instills a sense of anxiety? Well, horror movies that just rely on jump scares might be considered lazy, but they're still horror movies. And yes, ones that instill anxiety and use atmosphere, definitely a horror movie as well. As long as the movie's trying to scare you, it's a horror movie. As long as the movie's main intent is trying to scare you, no matter what type it uses, if it relies too much on jump scares, if it or if it relies, or if it's using you know, the suspense and instilling a sense of anxiety. It's a horror movie. If it's trying to scare you, it's a horror movie. For greatest antagonist or villain in a film slash series. So I chose my two favorites, one from a movie and one from a show. From the movie, it has to be Darth Vader. I love Darth Vader. I love the from Star Wars, but you know that. Darth Vader, just the presence, just the presence he carries with him, how he carries himself. He's such an intimidating villain, and then, you know, just the physical acting by David Prowse to be in that suit, and the voice from James Earl Jones. And then in the prequels, we see him played by Hayden Christensen. We see how he becomes Darth Vader, and we kind of get the humanization of him. And I just love that we get that double side. We see like this space Hitler, and then we see how the space Hitler became the space Hitler, you know. And we also kind of in the end, when he's redeemed, we can kind of look back at the prequels and be like, okay, that makes sense. This dude was human once. And we can see how Luke had reawakened that human side of Vader. Because in the original trilogy, he does seem more machine. He seems like this just dark pit of evil. But if you look back at the prequels, we do see, yes, he was human once. He did have heart. He did have a soul. He did used to love. He felt pain. He felt suffering. He felt happiness. And we can see how Luke could have reawakened that in him. And from the series has to be Deathstroke from Arrow. I love Slade. Slade has just a very well done backstory. We see him on the island with Oliver. We see him trying to help Oliver. We see him training with Oliver. And just that bond they had and how it was broken because of Oliver kept that secret about jumping in front of Sarah, which led to the death of Shadow, who both Oliver and Slade loved. And then I love how Slade, when he becomes Deathstroke, when he gets the Mirakuru in his system and he goes fucking insane, and he slowly ruins Oliver's life, not just by killing people around him or not just by destroying things, but sometimes he just goes and tells a family member a secret that Oliver was hiding from them and gets the family member pissed at him. I like how he slowly destroys this man's life and his city, and how smart he is about it. And just not only is he physically intimidating, but he has that brain too. He has that evil mastermind brain that he can slowly break down the hero, and I love it. He's very well done. There's been very many different versions of Deathstroke, but I really like the one shown on Arrow. Especially since he gets a redemption arc as well. It's just he's a very well done villain. Number 5, greatest protagonist in a film slash series. So I chose two. I chose Spider-Man from the original Sam Raimi films. Tobey Maguire plays Peter Parker / Spider-Man. Very, very good. Probably my favorite Spider-Man put to screen. All of them have had their merits, but I gotta go with Tobey. Tobey really brings that heart that is Spider-Man. And I love that throughout these films, he's always, even though he does the right thing, he's always getting shit on. He never really gets any rewards for being Spider-Man. He never really gets any payoff. It's always bad shit, you be Spider-Man, bad shit, but he keeps doing it because it's the right thing to do. And then in the third one, when he finally starts like getting some goodness out of Spider-Man, and he starts embracing that, and he starts embracing like the awesomeness of being Spider-Man, it's what leads to his downfall. It leads to him being a shitty human being and losing everything. He finally is embracing, you know, the goodness that comes out of this instead of the shitty part, and he's finally getting some good luck. And by accepting that, he kind of fucks up his life, and he has to go back to, okay, I'm gonna be Spider-Man, but I'm not gonna be Spider-Man for the fame or the glory. I'm gonna be Spider-Man because it's for the good of all, and I don't care if I don't get any rewards for it. I'm just gonna do this because it's the right thing to do. Which I just love that. I just love what Raimi did with that. Raimi is such a good film director, and I love Tobey Maguire's performance there, and I just think that's just a really great story to tell. Even though the third one was wonky, I still believe that's a solid trilogy. Probably one of the best superhero trilogies out there. And for my series, I put Tyrion Lannister. I really love Tyrion. Such a well done character. He's not like fully good, but he's not fully bad either. He's just this decent dwarf living in a time where it's not a good time to be a dwarf, and just trying to make it through life using his wits and his brains to outwit his stronger opponents, and just trying to survive in this fucked up landscape of Westeros, where even his family kind of despises him. He's just a very well done character, very well done, very admirable character, someone you can kind of look up to. Well, look up to in his positive traits, not like his alcoholism and some other shit. He does have some fucking he's not the perfect character, which I enjoy. I enjoy protagonists that are not perfect. And yeah, Tyrion Lannister is definitely not perfect. But yeah, and Peter Dinklage does a good job portraying him in the series Game of Thrones. I have not seen the final season, but I will eventually. And yeah, it's just Tyrion Lannister is amazing. 6. Choose 3 classics for a youngster like me. So I guess this was Jenna from Horror to Horror. I watched her video. I guess she got this from a 19-year-old. I'm 21. So yeah, but 3 classics I enjoy is Freaks from the 30s. A really good horror film that is very much about people and is about mistreatment and is about it's just a very good movie, and a lot of people see this movie as offensive because they see the freaks as the villains. But you gotta look at this from this way: the freaks are not the villains. The freaks are the heroes, and our pretty people who are being shitholes are the villains. And yes, the freaks do horrible things, but that's in defense. Except for Hans. Hans is a little prick, but we won't get into that. Another one is Blythe Spirit. It's a 1954 comedy. I don't know how much youngsters will get into this, but I think they should give it a shot. It's about this dude whose ex-wife comes back as a ghost, and it's pretty funny. It's like a British comedy. I like the aesthetic of it. She's like green. She's like this like cool green color, this greenish bluish color. It's really nice. It really pops, and I really love that. And yeah, Blythe Spirit's just it's a fun movie. Not to be confused with the newer one. It's the one from the 50s. There are a bunch of plays too, but I would look for the 54 movie, I believe it was, 1954 movie. Then you have the Maltese Falcon, which is just a classic noir kind of detective story. Very, very great story. The Maltese Falcon, definitely a classic, and I will say that you should check it out if you haven't seen it. 7. How long is too long for movies? Does movie length depend on the genre? I think a movie should be as long as it has to be to tell the story. Now, sometimes you might want to make a show instead of a movie if you're telling a really long story like Game of Thrones or something. But, yeah, it really depends on the movie. Like slashers should not be over like an hour and something. There should not be like a 2-3 hour slasher. Some comedies, depending, because there have been some really long comedies, but usually comedies don't really need to be like 2 hours or something, or 3 hours. depending. There's been some pretty long comedies that have worked really well. Um, there's been some long ones like gangsters and period pieces work very well as long ones, and Hollywood epics work very well as long movies. But you know, it just depends. Like, if the movie works, like, if you can make the movie, if the movie needs to be long, like, don't make a movie long just to have it be long if it doesn't need to be. If the story being told is a long story and it needs that time to develop the characters and actually tell the story the right way, then yes, take all the time you need. I will sit through them if I might not watch it a lot. Like, I love The Stand, but I don't watch it a lot because that's like it's a mini series and it's like it's long as shit, and like long as shit. But they are still movies I love, and I think they do a good job of telling the story, and they take their time and they um pace out the characters and stuff. Um, but yeah. Let's count. Hey guys, take a shot every time I say Fuck it. And the Trenchy drinking game. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's my question. I think a movie should be as long as it has to be to tell the story, but it shouldn't be drowned out just to be like, we gotta make it long. It shouldn't be drowned out like the killing joke. They drew it out just to make it fit the runtime so they could play it in theaters. So they added in the stupid subplot about Batwoman like fucking Batman, and Batgirl, no, Batgirl, not Batwoman. Batgirl fucking Batman, and Batgirl being like this, having a gangster obsessed with her. Something that really didn't need to be in there. It could have just been perfectly the Killing Joke movie and it would have been fine. But they added that in just to pan out the runtime so they could get the movie in the theaters, which they could have done that in plenty of different ways. They could have added an animated Batman short in the beginning and then played the Killing Joke movie, even if it wasn't a full-length movie. They still could have got it in the theaters, if they may just added something on. So yeah, I just think if the movie needs the time, to be told, into a movie, then yeah, if the movie, make the movie as long as it needs to be to tell the story correctly. Okay, that's number 7. Number 8, horror side, what other genres are you into? Well, horror is my second favorite genre. I like all genres of film, but my favorite genre is superheroes. I love superhero movies. I just love the idea of these people getting powers or not having powers and fighting villains. And there's so many ways you can go with superhero movies. You can get horror, you can get action, sci-fi, comedy, drama, romance. You can combine any genre with a superhero movie. It's kind of flexible like horror movies as well. Very flexible genres. You can combine anything like with them, and it will work. It will work. And I just love the superhero genre. I always had as a kid, and I think I always will. Okay, so that was number 8. Number 9, or okay, number 9 is, if you had to choose 3 things in a horror film that a horror film must have to be a horror film, what would it be? Well, okay, so the horror film doesn't really need these things, but I think it does help if they do have this thing. One is atmosphere. You have a good atmosphere, because atmosphere really adds to your film. Really make us afraid. That's why I love Pet Sematary, because Pet Sematary has a really good atmosphere. You have the fucking graveyard. You have deaths surrounding the whole movie. Deaths happening throughout the movie, even with the small deaths like Missy and Church Gang Hit in the Road. Well, Church Gang Hit in the Road's not a small death, but you know what I mean. And just deaths just surrounding the movie. Even when Judd's talking about his dead wife, death's always there. Death's a constant in this movie. And it really adds to the atmosphere of the film. Just the setting, the music, just the whole vibe of the movie. can really be effective depending on the atmosphere and how well the atmosphere affects the audience. So yeah, 1 for that is atmosphere. 2 is shit. I gotta pee. Okay, another thing, horror movie should have. Well, it doesn't really need this, but we've seen really good ones that don't have this. But a good story always helps. A good story always helps. As like I said before, Pet Sematary. I keep bringing this up. I love this movie. Has a really good story. People on Their Stairs has a really good, fun story. Another underrated horror film. Halloween. Yeah, it has a weaker story, but it's effective. So you know, doesn't really need this, but I think the good stories do help. Jaws, very good, very good. Well, no, Jaws is a good story. It is a really good story. It's about a killer shark and a group of misfits having to go and take him out. Just broke the chair, I think. Yeah, if you have a very good, compelling story, it can really bring your horror film to the next level. Nightbreed. Nightbreed has an amazing story. Just a lot of great horror films have had really good stories, and it really enhances the film. And 3, this might come obvious, but some sort of threat. There needs to be our main character needs to be in danger. Even if they're the killer, they can be the danger, but there needs to be some sort of, like, effect. Even being the killer, and that puts them in danger of being stopped by the hero, or stopped by, like, the cops or the law, like Devil's Rejects. They're in danger of the crazy cop guy, but they are the danger themselves. They are the conflict. Like, if it's a killer, a monster, a mental, like someone's, like, being affected mentally by drugs, or being mentally affected by themselves, like in Raising Cain with the split personality thing, or in Hide and Seek, even though that one's not as good, but with Robert De Niro ended up being the villain of that movie because of his split personality. Just or Norman Bates. Just needs to be some sort of threat affecting our character, whether that be Mother Nature itself, a survival horror, or stuck in a situation, or like a monster, or a supernatural source, or a killer, or just the mental state of our character itself. There needs to be some sort of threat. Our character needs to be in danger some way, somehow. Okay, number 10. Why do people follow the blood and screams and not just run away? So I guess they're talking about in the movie. Well, curiosity has always been the killer of our species. We're always afraid of the unknown because we don't know what it is. And a lot of the time, we try to comfort ourselves by discovering what that thing is. Why do we think we're always trying to find out the answer to, like, why there's life on Earth, and we're always trying to figure stuff out? We're always trying to look for answers because the unknown scares us, so we need an answer to that. So I think that's why in horror movies people follow the blood or stuff, because they want to get down to what's going on. They will feel comfort. They think they'll feel comfort once they discover what's causing the issue, what's doing this. So yeah, I think that's my answer for number 10. Oh shit, you didn't see that. I'll have to blow my nose after this. 11, number 11. What's the worst movie you ever seen, and how will you make it better? Okay, so it's time to become Nando V movies. The Village. I hate The fucking Village. The Village is horrible, it's boring, it's stupid, and its only good element, the fucking monsters, weren't real. Okay, so here's how I fix it. Kind of. Well, there will be an in-depth video on this coming up. 1. Okay, we can have it take place in modern day, we can have that whole happen, but make the monsters real. Maybe these people got scared of they didn't want the people leaving. They didn't want the people leaving and going into the modern world, so instead of putting on masks and pretending to be monsters, this guy, the guy running the place is fucking insane, and he makes the monsters real, but that backfires on him, and he has to end up putting out, like, tributes. Like, he has to end up sacrificing people to the monster each year. Then one day, someone tries to figure out the truth. They end up getting past the monster. They end up going out in the real world. And, you know, they end up grabbing modern stuff, and they come back and try to fight the monsters with a modern posse. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but I think it would be a way better movie if we just made this into a creature feature. We can keep the overall twist that's in modern day. We can keep that, even though reveal that way earlier in the film, and have this be like a badass monster movie with like some action and stuff. Then fucking the boringness that was The Village. And don't make the fucking retarded guy the villain. Maybe give him a hero moment, but don't make him the villain. He can die in the movie, but make him kind of heroic. Make him have a hero death. Don't just, oh, he's the bad guy. Like, yeah. We'll go in depth on this in a little while. In another video. 12. If you could make a dream movie, what would it be? You can be vague or specific as you want. Okay, so I got 3. I got 3. I'm gonna drop it on you. One is just desserts. And my idea is you got a bunch of like young people, and they're doing a killing spree. They're going around, they're torturing and killing people because they want to become famous in the media. They have noticed that killers always get fame and killers always get remembered. So that's why they're doing it. They're not bloodthirsty. They're not the real deal. They just want to be famous. You know, they're doing drugs. They're fucking having sex. They're fucking killing people. And they got their hostages in their fucking van or whatever. And the van breaks down. And then they have to go to this house. There's a house nearby. It's in the middle of nowhere. And in this house is like a fucking House of 1,000 Corpses, Texas Chainsaw Massacre family, like the real deal. You got like a fucking, the head of the family is like an old Vietnam guy. You got a crazy chick. You got grandpa, but you got a grandpa character, but he is like a rocket propelled wheelchair. You got a man eating goat pet, because there's got to be a man eating goat pet. You got like a kid, and he's like obsessed with cowboys and Indians, so he walks around with like a bow and arrow and shit, and like cowboy guns, and like just make a crazy ass family, and then have these like killers who think they're hot shit have to deal with real killers, and then the real killers have hostages in their house already. You have the hostages being brought by our other killers, and then it just becomes a free-for-all of who will survive. I also would like to see a death where someone gets like cut open, disemboweled, and then they are like strangled with their own guts, and then later you see them like hanging from a ceiling or a rafter by their own guts, and like someone's playing darts at them. Like one of the family members is playing darts. They're like playing darts with them. I think that would be cool. 2 is one I was thinking of. For a while, I would actually like to write a book on this. It's called Spellbound. It's about a witch who has a baby. She has a demon put in her, and she has to wear a necklace. She has to carry this vessel of this demon. Because that's what her family does. Her family of witches, they all carry all the women have to carry this demon with them. I don't know why women. That's just how it crumbles. Fucking the women have to carry the demon and be like the cage for the certain demon, because the witch family was assigned to keep this villain trapped, keep this demon trapped. So they got to they trapped the demon inside the vessel of the human body. And later on, this cult is like, when she's like maybe like a teenager, this cult's trying to get her so they can use the demon with a bunch of other demons to awaken this evil god. I know, cliche plot, but and she can use her witch powers, but she can also use the demon to kind of like power her witch powers, but you know, the demon's also trying to get control of her. It's an interesting dynamic, I think. And number 3 would be probably my magnum opus, which would probably combine 3 of my favorite genres. It would be like a horror slasher film. but also be like a superhero film, right? A superhero film. Like a superhero origin story film, kind of like the original Spider-Man stuff, where let's say there's this evil clown named Mr. Giggles. You may recognize that name, and he is summoned at a camp, or he's summoned in a town, and he's killing people. He's killing the people that summoned him, and one of the people he goes to kill one of the teens, but the teen doesn't die, and he gets superpower somehow, and he it follows the regular slasher tropes. You have slashing going on, but you also have the hero origin story. He's training, he rescues people, he has the first fight with the villain and he loses, and then he has the final fight with the villain. But also there's some comedy in there, because I love comedy, but also it's a musical. Yes, a slasher, a horror slasher superhero origin comedy musical. I know it's very ambitious, but this could either be fucking a flop and probably the worst movie ever made, or a cult classic. And that's the kind of movie I want to make. I want to either go balls to the wall insane, because if you know me, I'd rather go balls to the wall fucking insane. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's how I would go. That's how I would go. Okay, 13. Are youngers uncultured for not seeing films considered classics? No. I'm a young guy. I haven't seen Forrest Gump. I haven't seen The Fly from the 80s. I don't think we're uncultured. We all have our blind spots. Like, you could say, oh, you're uncultured. People call me uncultured because I don't like The Matrix. They say, oh, you're young because you don't like the Matrix or Silence of the Lambs because you're young. No, because I like Dr. Caligari, which is a 20s movie that's like has no like sound or anything in it. It's a impressionist movie. Or Nosferatu. I like those movies. So how's me being young mean I don't like The Matrix, but I like something that's older than The Matrix? That makes no sense to me. I don't think it's uncultured. Yes, I have thrown around the term uncultured before, but I don't think that's really fair. We all have our blind spots. We all had our movies we haven't seen. So no, I don't think it's uncultured at all. And plus, it's like discovering these movies, discovering these movies for the first time is fun, That's just because you haven't seen every single classic. I think that's kind of an enhance, because then once you finally stumble upon that classic and see if you like it or not, it's a fun experience. Okay, number 14. Would you pursue a career in film if you could? Or is this just a hobby? It's kind of a hobby, but dude, if I could, I would like to try to be a writer. I don't know, maybe, or help someone write a film. I'd also like be down for, I don't know when that camera ended. I'll also be down for like an acting role, or something fun like that. But yeah, I'd be down to join the film industry. I don't think I had the talent for it, but I'd be down to do it. And 15, what modern movie would you recommend for older generations? I'm gonna go with the Western Quentin Tarantino movie, The Hateful Eight. One, because it's a Western. I know a lot of the Westerns have been around since the 30s and stuff. But two, I think this is a very human movie, besides all the shit that's going on. It kind of shows that we all have bad qualities. We all have some good qualities in us. No one in this movie is really a hero. It's really got that grit to it. And I think this will bring enough old nostalgia for the older generation, but also some very, will also bring that grit and something new stuff that will kind of like be, I think that will kind of be like, oh, this is cool, this is like something I like from my day, but it's like cool, but it's like got this like also this other edge to it as well. And it's just a very well done movie. The Hateful Eight's just an amazing fucking movie, and I fucking love it. So yeah, I'm going with The Hateful Eight for that. that was the quarantine tag, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll tag Mark of Horror. I'll tag Hobbs if he hasn't been tagged already. I'll tag Hey, Isn't That Devon Grab? I'll tag Need Gore. And I'll tag Jennifer Tochi. There's my tags. Thank you for the Horror to Horror for creating this. Thank you for Jen's Reviews from the Grave for bringing this to my attention and tagging me in it. And yeah, links to those two channels will be down below. I hope you guys have a nice day. Stay frosty. I'm sorry for the cutouts. My computer kept shutting off and stuff. So yeah, this is Trenchy signing off. Beep up boop.